So how to plan out your ideas. A lot of people really find it difficult to sort of collect their ideas in one place. I think if, especially right at the start of a project, if you're not kind of used to working on artistic work or projects, it can feel quite overwhelming, because really the best position that you should be in is to have hundreds of completely scattered and seemingly irrelevant thoughts and ideas that you're going to have to try to make into a coherent thing. And I think the instinct is to want to do that all in one go. It's not going to happen like that. You know, you're not going to have a perfect plan at the start. And really what you should have is a kind of more like a thread that you're trying to follow. And as you follow the thread, you're going to discard ideas and keep some ideas. You may even continue to discard things right until the very end, you know. And that's fine. That's how the thing becomes more complete and more resolved. But one thing that I found really useful, and this is actually a sort of a technique for people with dyslexia. Now, I don't have dyslexia, but I used to teach a lot of students who had dyslexia, and this was a really useful device which I actually use for myself now. And it's kind of like a sun coming out. So in here, this is where we're going to write the ideas that we've got. So if I take one of my books, for example, let's think about Cree. Now, it didn't have a title when I started. It was just basically an idea that I would go and meet a group of women and talk to them, and then develop a short graphic novel based on their collective, which is a kind of creative collective in Stanley in County Durham. So what was the central idea? It was self-help. It was friendship. It was beauty. Because County Durham's a really beautiful sort of landscape. It's an incredible place. And they were sort of living in a town which probably, you know, when people think of places like Stanley and Consett in County Durham, the first thing they think is not beauty, but these women are all together making beautiful things together. They're crafting, they're knitting and stitching, and so, you know, selling these things in their shops. And the beauty also refers to the beauty of the friendship and the connections. So I suppose maybe it's about creative production, and I'm going to put mutual aid, which is probably not how they would conceive of it, but it was a useful kind of thing for me to think about while I was working on the project. Now, okay, so at the moment we've just got this horizon line, and we're going to imagine that this is where we want to end up, and this is where we're going to start. So what's the first thing that you need to do, and where do you want to end up? So okay, I'm going to change colour pencil. So where I want to end up with is a book. That's I already know that that's going to be the end product. Now you're going to make a zine, okay, so that's what would go there. For some projects, you might not actually really know what the end product's going to be, but you might have something a little bit more abstract at the end of that. You know, maybe it's not a concrete item. That's also fine. If what you want is to, I don't know, grow your audience or meet people or whatever. Well, maybe not at the moment, but you know what I mean. So what's the first thing that I had to do is to meet the women. So that goes there. Now, so that's not as simple as it sounds. It's got all sorts of other aspects to it, but we're not going to worry about those right now. But what we are going to think about are all the other things that are going to happen in between. Because getting from here to here is going to be quite a journey. So what are the things that I can think of that I'm going to need to do? Now, I don't need to put them on the points yet, because I don't know when they're going to happen. This is me trying to organise myself. So Some things that I'm going to need to do. I'm going to need to buy train tickets and bus tickets because it's a train and a bus. I'm going to have to look on the map to make sure I know where I'm going. This is sort of really practical things, I suppose, aren't they? Oh, I'm going to need drawing equipment for when I get there, and a camera. And am I going to record what they say? I don't know. Or am I just going to kind of remember it and make notes? This is something that I'm going to consider. In the end, I didn't record. I just kind of sat and listened, and things that I remembered. I made a few notes during conversations, but mainly the book consists of things that I remembered in conversations, because that seemed like a less kind of intrusive way of writing the story when people were talking about some quite sort of difficult issues that they were having. So okay, then I would need to do some drawing. I would need to do some writing, and I would need to do some consulting with the women to make sure that they were happy with what I'd done. Some of the other things that I thought about were to do a workshop, to join in with one of their workshops, and also to offer them one of my workshops, which was kind of part of the project, and it was really useful in getting to know the women. Oh yeah, so look around Stanley, which I did, and had a really wonderful guide, one of the girls from the groups. This was going to really help me to draw the environment, but also to kind of understand the place, because this was the first time I'd ever been there, and I think that this became something really important in the book, and it became the concept actually that the book was the journey. So it was my passing through that became the shape or the form of the book, and that's something I didn't kind of think of until I was in the process. So I was probably around about at this stage when I thought, okay, this book, it feels like something where I go, I meet people, I kind of have this experience, and then I leave. And so the book is formed as a kind of symmetrical journey, you know, with a character that walks into the book. There's a kind of fold out point in the middle, and then the character walks out of the book again. You can see the book on my YouTube channel, where it's one of the books that I'm just reading on screen. So where are we? So I think I can already put some of these things in, because probably the first thing I need to do is check train times. And then buy tickets. So I'm going to stick another little one there. Now here, there are all sorts of things that I'm thinking about. Names. Who, when. So these are all questions that I'm going to have to ask the sort of the organizer of the project, who's called Linda. So I'm going to write down Linda there, and that will remind me to phone Linda and ask her some questions about how this visit will be organised. And then, as you can see, I'll just kind of fill these things in as I go. So, very scruffy little plan there. It's not linear. It doesn't have to be perfect or complete, but it helps me get a sense of how I'm going to get from this point to this point. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I'm going to do it with a story plan. So I'm thinking about the Cree project again. I'm going to draw the little circle and the sunrise. So now I've identified from just thinking about the planning of it that it's got something to do with a journey. And it's got something to do with friendship. And it's got something to do with being women together. So those sort of nicely consolidated kind of ideas at the heart of the project. So as I described before, the journey became an important part of this. So the character enters and then leaves. And the way I did that was to draw lots of little thumbnails. Oh, actually, no, I don't think I did do thumbnails for this. I think I went straight to the drawing and then I just traced over the drawing and altered elements on each new page, and without checking, I'm not sure how many there are, but I think there are 5 at the beginning and 5 at the end. So a girl walking, into the book. Now, in the middle of the book, I wanted a kind of feeling of absolute, the kind of, when I got there, it was really sort of bright and everyone was busy and happy. Yeah, so let's just write that. Bright, busy, happy. And that was in the centre of the book. And then the other elements that I wanted to include in the sort of design of the thing were the landscape. So some of the things that I saw while I was travelling around. Okay, yeah, so the bus. So she walks. And then she's on the bus. And then we've got, of course, windows. So we can be looking out of windows. At the landscape. One of the things that I saw were a lot of different colours. And a lot of crows. And then you've got the town. You've got the streets. And then you've got the bright, happy middle. And then on the way back out again, we do it in reverse. Town, streets, crows, colours, landscape, bus, windows, walks, leaves. And then we've got the plan.